Is look at a series of volcanic activities and look at features associated with volcanism. And I want to start this segment of the lecture off with basically a general discussion on three classic volcanic activities. These have been studied and restudied over the years. They're of a historical significance not only in geology but also history. And the three that we're going to look at is the eruption of Mount Vesuvius in 79 AD. It was the first volcano that literally received scientific inquiry. They did a lot of work on this at the time it happened, and we'll explain what happened with Vesuvius. Then we'll skip roughly 1,800 years later. There's a volcanic island along the edge of the Indian Ocean, and that's Krakatoa, and there are two different spellings for Krakatoa. One is O-A and one is A-U. Depends on which textbook you look at, depends on which reference you look at. But Krakatoa, again, significant history because it was the first modern work done on trying to figure out what was happening as far as volcanic activity. And then Mount Pelee in 1902 is of interest because it is in the Western Hemisphere. The other two are in the Eastern Hemisphere. One's in, obviously, Italy, one's in Indonesia, and Mount Pelee is on the island of Martinique, which is in the Gulf of Mexico, Caribbean Sea. Okay, Vesuvius. Vesuvius on the boot in Italy, down toward the bottom third of Italy, near Naples, is a volcano that has periodically erupted with significant force. The very last time it erupted was in the mid-1940s during World War II. So it's had a long history of active volcanism. And basically the soils of southern Italy can be attributed to the ash and debris associated with Mount Vesuvius. Nearly every volcanic event is preceded by a series of small to moderate earthquakes. And this was true with Vesuvius as well. That in the summer, late spring actually, of 79 AD, Vesuvius was undergoing some rumblings. And what was happening at that point was magma was coming out of the magma chamber and flowing into Mount Vesuvius. So the movement of this magma created some minor tremors in the area on a Richter scale of 1, 2, 3 in that range. Nothing major, but just a rumbling. And during the summer, there'd be a release of steam periodically, occasionally a little bit of ash. In August of 79 AD, these events begin to intensify. More rumblings, deeper rumblings, more steam, more ash. It got to the point that the government of Rome said, let's go see what's going on in this area. And they sent a bureaucrat. That's what you do to solve a problem. You send a bureaucrat, they'll take care of it. By the name of Pliny, P-L-I-N-Y. And it was because of Pliny that this area was studied. Well, Pliny went down, marshaled his forces. Okay, we're going to look at what's happening here. Well, when Pliny was in Pompeii, which is the city closest to Vesuvius, it began to emit large volumes of ash. This is a convergent plate activity. Convergent plate activity lends itself to large quantities of ash. So ash is spewing out, and ash is spewing out toward Pompeii. And within hours, there were several feet of ash in Pompeii. Structures began to collapse because of the weight of the ash on the roof. The community of 20,000 evacuated. I mean, he got the bureaucrat, got everybody out the mountain, quieted down. It's over. We can go back. People drifted back, and a second major event happened. But this time, there was also noxious gases involved. And these gases were CO2 and sulfur oxides. And these gases created respiratory issues. People were dying or they were suffocating because of these gases. When this was over with, roughly 2,000 people perished within Pompeii. Not a big number. But the city was completely covered in ash. Take a 2- and 3-story building here in Wausau and cover it so you don't see any remnants of that building. You have a phenomenal amount of ash. And it was an ash fall. So it just drifted down onto this structure. Well, the government of Rome wanted to know what went on. So they documented every step of the way. It was recorded. And as soon as the scientific study is done, what do you do with the study?
You study it.
You file it, put it away, and you're going to get back to it. Lo and behold, it was filed safely, but nobody got back to it. And in the 1600s, about 1,500 years after the event, digging an aqueduct in this volcanic ash, the diggers came across artifacts. They came across dishes, they came across what looked to be a paved highway, and they were wondering what in the world went on. So again, they reported this to the officials. The officials started digging in the historic record, and they found the lost city of Pompeii. I mean, truly, it was a lost city. And you say, how can you lose a city of 20,000? There are lumbering communities in Wisconsin that have thousands of people that have completely disappeared, but for a different reason. So it's possible. After several generations, people forget about it. When Grandma would talk about Pompeii, you say, Grandma's losing it. So over time, people forgot about Pompeii. Well, not a lot was done until the late 1800s, 1880s, 1870s. And people went into this area not from an archaeological standpoint to find out what happened, but what can we plunder from the area? What can we take out and put in museums all over the world? So they began to literally dig here, there, and everywhere. Thankfully, the Italian government put an end to it. So, whoa, these are Italian artifacts, and they've got to stay in the country. And during the 20th century, you're not coming back, is that correct?
Yeah.
You know, you're not coming back, is that correct? You go out the door, you don't come back. I'm sorry, you keep coming and going. You're out the door, you stay out the door. Thank you. I didn't think it was critical. We'll wait.
Oh, we're gonna wait.
We're waiting for him to leave. So in the early part of the 20th century, archaeologists, historical societies decided to uncover Pompeii. And today, when you walk the streets of Pompeii, on the streets are the remains of a massive Colosseum, several stories high, buildings 2 and 3 stories high, archways that are still there, and the street that was there in 79 AD. you'll literally see the entire city as it was, except obviously